And now on to health. As the school year gets underway, students are probably enjoying healthier lunches, and that's because the TUSD made changes to their menus. Reporter Leslie Lopez has the story.
Most of us remember cafeteria food is not so good and not so healthy. The Torrance Unified School District has teamed up with students and food manufacturers to create a tasty and balanced menu.
Our manufacturers work with us to lower the fat, lower the sodium content of the item, and add whole grains to the item. So even if you saw a chicken nugget on our menu, it's not the same chicken nugget that students would get at the fast food restaurants.
Along with food manufacturers, the school district sat down with students to find out what they liked.
And our menus for the elementary schools are based on the 25 top choices of the students. Then we look at the choices that the students make and we decide how can we make this a little bit healthier for them.
Even foods like nachos and desserts that usually have a bad reputation are modified to fit the menu.
Some of the dessert items that you might see on the elementary level is 100% juice bars, or a sherbet made with 100% juice, or a reduced fat cookie made with whole grains.
And for high school students, heartier appetites mean more choices.
We have a more upscale menu at the high school where the big menu trend we're seeing in the restaurants, in the community, is rice bowls. So the high schools are actually making their own rice bowls where they'll offer teriyaki chicken, orange rice bowls. They'll do different types of bowls.
In the past 5 years, the federal government has required every school district to come up with a wellness policy. And in California, there are even stricter standards.
But one of the biggest changes you see is there's no more soda on campus, no more candy on campus. The vending machines that are operated on campus have all the healthy items in them. There's no longer regular fried potato chips, there's no longer French fries, we no longer fry anything on campus.
And in order to make extra certain students eat what is offered, they get to participate in some taste testing. Even Rock had the pleasure of participating.
Some are good and some aren't good.
And those ones don't get approved.
The ones that aren't good don't make it any further than my office.
Rock's positive changes have not gone unnoticed. Recently, she was awarded with state and regional recognition as an outstanding Director of the Year. But she won't take all the credit. She attributes the success to her staff.
And every time I come up with an idea, something that will make the meals healthier for the students, the staff is 100% behind me, so I can't take full credit for it. I really need to give the credit to the staff because they're the ones that serve the children every single day.
For the Torrance Unified School District, it's about healthy eating, and for these kids, it's about tasty food. And to make that combination a success, the Torrance Unified School District has made a special menu. For CitiCABLE 3, I'm Leslie Lopez.
And speaking of healthy food, consumers go to the farmers market for organic, sustainable products. But does that mean all of the food is good for you? Reporter Siobhan Field takes us to Wilson Park and finds out about food safety at the Torrance Farmers Market.
The nearly 8,000 people who visit the Torrance Farmers Market each Saturday know about their high-quality produce. What they may not know is the market's food safety policies are nothing to sneeze at.
We are controlled by the Health Department, Los Angeles County Health Department, and we have regulations which we must follow.
Dairy foods are considered potentially hazardous and must be kept at or below 45 degrees, a regulation that is closely monitored by Mary Lou Weiss and the County Health Department.
They'll shut them down. They'll send them home. And so it's very important temperature is always correct for the food.
Mary Lou Weiss oversees the market at Wilson Park and says the safety of their products is no laughing matter.
I have a 3 strikes and you're outlaw. And that is if you get 3 bright yellow slips of paper, that third one is the one that tells them that they're going to be gone from the market.
And the vendors pay attention, wanting to protect their customers and ensure they can keep coming back to the market week after week.
Safety is the most important thing for us, so customer can come.
We've got to keep the milk fresh and clean and cold, so the customer will be happy.
To qualify for an operating license, vendors must obtain $1 million of liability insurance to indemnify the city from lawsuits that could arise from unsafe food practices. The license process is lengthy and involves inspections of both the on-site booth and off-site food preparation areas such as the vendor's home kitchen.
It's a very rigorous inspection. They check everything, they measure everything, they check temperatures, they check gauges, they Everything has to be off the floor, like the coolers, and in the kitchen it's the same. All the food has to be kept on top. It's very rigorous.
Try this one out too, some pumpkin bread.
Good morning, sir. Would you like a free sample?
Sun-dried tomato pesto.
Constantly we change the samples, so every hour or 2 hours we completely change the samples. We put brand new samples so that they're not stale, so they're not old, so the samples don't get under a certain temperature, because once they're under a certain temperature, then they become hazardous.
But vendors aren't the only ones that can protect you from foodborne disease. You can also protect yourself. Hand washing is our first line of defence against bacteria that can cause the common cold, meningitis, hepatitis, or the flu. Always wash your hands before and after handling food, and encourage your kids to do the same. Keep a supply of antibacterial wash close by, so during the day you can kill germs and keep bacteria at bay.
Hand washing is extremely important, especially for people who are doing sampling. Now they can wear plastic gloves, but they cannot wear plastic gloves and then put their hand out and take the money.
Rules like this are music to the County of Los Angeles' ears. Certified health education specialist Christy Holt says hand washing is imperative, not just for farmers market vendors, but also in our home kitchens.
We want to do proper hand washing. So that really involves using soap, warm water, and really scrubbing your hands vigorously for at least 30 seconds. So if you can get through singing the happy birthday song twice, that's a good rule of thumb.
Hand washing and other food safety regulations are appreciated by farmers market visitors and do not go unnoticed.
Most of them have the plastic gloves. They change the gloves in between food service. The whole area, Mary Lou Weiss does an amazing job of monitoring the vendors here, and I'm very comfortable buying here.
And I try to buy, all fresh vegetables, and, I feel very secure with, shopping here.
For CitiCABLE 3, I'm Siobhan Field.
Well, here's a health fact you may not be aware of. Most people assume that strokes occur only in older people, but surprisingly they can happen at any age and at any time. Reporter Anna Carranza finds out what can bring on this medical emergency.
On Wednesday, Rosa felt her hand go numb. The following day, she started to feel more numbness on one side of her face. By Saturday, she lost control of her reflexes.
I thought it was because of work. I thought for my age, why would I get a heart attack or something like that? I never thought that could be. Never expected it.
One of the myths about having a stroke is that it doesn't happen to young people, when in fact, 1 out of 10 people who have a stroke are under the age of 45.
With the help of her doctor, Rosa began to understand the factors that contributed to her stroke.
Her cholesterol was high. She has this clotting disorder that she was not aware of, and she was wearing a birth control patch, which we know is a risk factor for the formation of blood clots.
The factors for stroke in young adults are different from those in older adults.
In younger people, we look at autoimmune disorders such as lupus or juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. We look for clotting disorders. We also look for cardiac abnormalities, an irregular heartbeat.
A stroke is basically an interruption of blood supply to any part of the brain and is sometimes called brain attack. Hypertension remains the #1 risk factor for strokes. Other factors are diabetes, family history, heart disease, and high cholesterol. Certain medications increase the chances of blood clots and therefore the chances of suffering a stroke. How do you know you're having a stroke? Dr. Amin explains.
We like to use an acronym called ACT FAST. Okay, ACT means just act. FAST stands for facial asymmetries. So if you look at somebody's face and they have a droop, or if you look in the mirror and you don't feel quite right. Arms, you can have somebody raise their arms and see if one falls away or drifts or one side's weaker than the other. The S stands for speech. Does somebody's speech sound coherent or is it a little slurred? The T stands for time. FAST, time. Time is critical. If you see somebody with those symptoms or you recognize those symptoms in yourself, you need to get to the nearest emergency room immediately.
Rosa has made a full recovery. She eats healthier than she did before and even quit smoking.
I would tell young people to watch their eating habits, to get checkups, check their blood and their cholesterol. And if it's a little high, to try to keep it at a normal level because you can get a scare like this.
Whatever your age, if you're experiencing stroke symptoms, the faster you get diagnosed, the better your chances for recovery. For CitiCABLE 3, I'm Anna Carranza.